going to talk about the paleo diet, and Becky's going to talk about gluten intolerance. And then Tim is going to talk about the DASH diet, which is truly a much more helpful diet, and he's going to go last, I think, is that right? Because we have a food demonstration in the back, and so we have brought food for you that's a recipe made that would follow those DASH guidelines. Now, Deb mentioned before about how we got to know each other, and there was nursing and pharmacy and physical therapy and health education, and we call that interprofessional education, where different disciplines are coming together to work with clients, patients, families for better outcomes. And because we have our specialty areas, but we can work together. So, of course, we have dietetics and we have nursing, but we also have a graduate of Grace Lutheran School, Tiffany Evans, and now she's almost ready to be a graduate of Idaho State University, and she's a health education major. So she's going to pull in the whole piece related to physical activity. So you're going to kind of get a smattering of things. So I will turn the time over to them, and just let's have this informal, and if you have questions, comments, we'll try to answer them. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that introduction, Laura. So my name is Lisa, and I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about the paleo diet. This is a fad diet that really came about in the past couple of years, and it came about in the last couple of years. And my presentation is just kind of going to go over what are the guidelines within the diet, and then just some pros and cons about the diet. So first off, what is the paleo diet? So this is the diet that is based off eating food similar to what was around in the Paleolithic areas. This is also called the Stone Age diet or the hunter-gatherer diet. And the purpose of it and the idea is to be focused on eating to have a more natural way of eating. So it's back to the hunter-gatherer, what was available to them in that time. So the belief of this diet is that the human body is better suited for this type of diet than to our more modern diet, which came about with farming. And so with farming, we got the introduce of dairy products, so our milk, butter, ice cream, all that good stuff, grains, and also legumes. And their belief is that farming introduced with these types of foods was that it introduced diabetes, heart disease, obesity, things like that. So this is kind of breaks down what the individuals who follow the Paleolithic diet eat. So what they really focus on is lean meats. So this is anything from wild game, fish, anything like that. Also, I mentioned that below, fish, fruits and vegetables. They didn't really specify any restrictions on the type. Nuts and seeds, and also fruit and nut oils. So this is like walnut oils or olive oils. And what are avoided is grains, so anything with wheat, oat, barley, anything like that. Legumes, so beans, lentils, peas. Avoidance of dairy products, avoidance of refined sugar, salt, and potatoes. So really, if you just think about it, it's really a general restriction of processed foods. And this is where most of the health benefits come from, because if you think of cutting out processed foods, which are high in sodium, high in saturated fat, things like that, then you'll get health benefits from that. So this is just kind of a picture of the healthy fats and just kind of what they eat, and this is what they avoid. So with the pros of the paleo diet, a really awesome thing is that it promotes eating whole, nutritious foods instead of refined processed foods. So it's a really good focus on nutrient-dense food, which is as opposed to carbohydrate-dense or energy-dense food. Sorry. They also have high vitamin and mineral consumptions, just because of with the fruits and vegetables that you're eating and the nuts and all that. Also high soluble fiber from the fruits and vegetables. High omega-3 content just from the fish. A lot of people in this diet eat a lot of fish. It does exclude sodium, which is really good. Promotes satiety, and this is usually because of the high protein content. pressure, and so they don't keep eating. And then it also has shown to warrant weight loss. And if you think about just the foods that you're eating, it's a lot of foods that is generally promoted like a healthy, balanced diet. And so the cons is that this diet can be very expensive, as it really focuses on organic, natural, grass-fed meats, wild game and things like that, which can be very expensive, and so that's a consideration when maybe thinking about following this diet. Also with the exclusion of calcium, this happens when we eliminate the dairy products from our diet. And it's just good to be aware of just where we're losing foods. The exclusion of grains and legumes, this is also a really good source of, these are sources of fiber and a lot of other vitamins and minerals. And so, though we are getting a lot of vitamins and minerals from our fruits and vegetables, it's important to grains and legumes, because we can get a lot more amount of fiber from our grains and things like that. And then also fatigue. This diet will really highly restricts your carbohydrates, which we use carbohydrates for a main source of energy. And so we lose that quick energy, so your body really has to adjust to this new diet. It can be high in fat. There are fats. A lot of what I found was that a lot of the foods that people switch to are actually higher in fats than what would be a normal diet. So it's always good to pay attention to what kind of fats you're eating, saturated versus unsaturated, and things like that. Restrictive diets are really hard to follow. Just kind of switching from something that's completely different from what you are, it's really hard to stick to it and really hard to keep up with your energy, keep up with sustaining it through cooking it, purchasing it, and things like that. And also one of the main things is that the paleo diet assumes that our bodies are identical to Stone Age humans and those individuals. And really our body is made to evolve with our environment. Like take milk for example. They didn't have milk back then, but our bodies have built up a tolerance to lactose, and it really provides a lot of good benefits for us. So just the conclusion, this is just kind of a general conclusion for switching to restrictive diets, is that it's always good to weigh the pros and cons. It's always good to make sure that you can make an educated guess on what this would be beneficial, how can this be harmful. It's also good to pay attention that diets that are restrictive, they can lead to health problems. Just because, just like in this diet, we're restricting our calcium, and we're restricting grains and legumes. It's just really good to have an idea of how restrictive diets can affect our health. And then always make sure that your lifestyle change that you're wanting to make is sustainable. Make sure it's something that you know that you can accomplish and that you can follow on a daily basis, and that you could increase your health in the long run. And more importantly, do your research. Just know, if you hear of a new diet, just make sure you talk to your dietitian, and anyone that would have kind of an idea about, like, okay, yeah, this does have good benefits, but then these are also the cons. Because I really believe that the paleo diet has really good aspects to it. It promotes eating fruits and vegetables, nuts, and seeds, and it promotes it using healthier oils. So I really think there's positives to each diet, but then sometimes they can go too far. And so I won't play this video, but if you want to write this down, it's Debunking the Paleo Diet, and it's from TED Talks. And it really kind of gives you a really good idea of where the diet came from and just kind of some science behind the ideas of the diet. So if you have some time, it's about 22 minutes long, that's why I didn't play it for you today. But it's got some really interesting information with it.
And I watched it this morning and it was awesome. So, just her rationale, because wasn't she an anthropologist?
Yeah,
So,
she's
an anthropologist saying, this is why it really isn't necessarily what paleo people eat
Yeah.
or ate.
Yeah, and she kind of compares to where they have them avoiding refined sugar and things. And so she was just about a 12-ounce can of soda, and she's like, how much sugar cane do you think that these Paleolithic individuals would have to consume? And it was about 8 feet of the sugar cane that they would have to consume to give them the same amount of sugar that we get in just about 20 minutes. So it kind of puts perspective on really the evidence behind the diet. And so I really encourage you, if you have time, to definitely check it out.
I have a quick question for you.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
For someone like my mother who is allergic to fish, would they lean more towards just the lean meats? And if so, does that completely eliminate the omega fatty acids from the diet then, or are there other sources?
It doesn't completely eliminate it. You can still get it from the nuts and seeds like that, and even from the olive oil is a really good source of omega-3. So there are places where you can get omega-3s in your diet aside from the fish. Any other questions? Okay, well, Becky, we'll turn it over to the gluten-free diet.
So you can run over to the next slide actually. First of all, to help us understand, before we even really talk about the diet, is to understand what gluten is. It's kind of this obscure thing that we really don't know what is so bad. But gluten is actually the protein that is found in grain, and it gives things structure. That's what helps bread be so tall. Because once you go with a gluten-free product, it's the gluten, there's other things they have to put in place to get the bread tall versus the gluten. And it's basically kind of a sticky substance too that kind of holds things together. And those are the two easy definitions of what gluten is. But it's really the truth about what it is. And then the thing that we have recently, and I think it's because of modern medicine, we have 3 things that are a complication with gluten. We can have a wheat allergy, we can get gluten intolerance or insensitivity, or celiac disease. And I'm just going to briefly cover each of those before we get to the rest. A wheat allergy is actually where your body has an allergic response to wheat. And actually in my research I found that sometimes people don't actually have a any clinical evidence of the allergy. Like my dad one time went through allergy testing and found out he was allergic to eggs, which he didn't like. He was allergic to wheat, and we never saw a reaction. He was allergic to peanuts and several other things, but we never saw a reaction with him to wheat. But other people can have symptoms that can include abdominal pain, diarrhea, and occasional nausea and vomiting, and that can occur within 12 to 72 hours. You can also experience asthma, and then the real allergy symptoms of the itchy throat or the swelling and, tightening, which would be more of like an anaphylaxis type of response, and then some people can actually develop a skin rash. And so that is actually the symptoms of the wheat allergy. Now, gluten intolerance or insensitivity is actually gluten causes a reaction in the digestive tract, and it is an immune response also, but it's just in the digestive tract, and it actually does not cause any damage to your digestive system. There's no damage with this one. But they will experience abdominal pain and fatigue and headaches. And so that one's not a fun one to experience either. And then the last one is celiac disease. And this one is the same kind of, is really close to gluten intolerance, but it actually causes damage to the lining of the small intestines. And because of that, it can cause malabsorption issues and then vitamin and mineral deficiencies. And then those symptoms are similar to the intolerance as well, except for we add weight loss, fatigue, anemia, and poor appetite because they just simply don't feel like eating. And then the next slide is actually a little kind of diagram of what happens to the lining of the small intestines. Normally we have in a healthy small intestine, we have these little finger-like projections called villi. And they're microscopic. And they capture all of the digested nutrients that are in the chyme, which is the technical term for, digested food. And they capture all of those little bits and pieces, and then down here would be the bloodstream. So then they go into the bloodstream. The problem with celiac is it actually kills off those villi in a sense, and they can't absorb. So that's where the malabsorption and the vitamin deficiency problems actually come in. The one thing about celiac is if you do eliminate the gluten from your diet, they will regenerate and you can recover from it. But it's really important that both with celiac disease, that you're tested when you're experiencing symptoms because the antibody that's in your bloodstream actually starts to diminish after you stop eating it. And so you need to be tested when you have symptoms. With gluten intolerance, you can be tested, it will come back negative, and the only way to find out necessarily that that's what it is that you have is to eliminate it from your diet, see if you feel better, then reintroduce it back in. So that's what you have to do. So, the next slide. So basically the treatment for all three of these conditions is to go gluten-free. And that's kind of where this whole idea is, well, if it makes some people feel better, maybe it's going to make everybody feel better. And so that's kind of where the idea of a gluten-free diet has come from. They're on the market today. You can find a lot of gluten-free products. These are just a few that I chose. The gluten-free Bisquick, we found that at the grocery store, but it is a little teeny tiny box that maybe makes 8 pancakes. Because my daughter actually has gluten issues. And it's just tiny boxes and tiny packages. Which takes me to the next slide of, should everybody go gluten-free? Well, my biggest thing is it's like, if you don't have to go gluten-free, why would you want to spend the money? Because a loaf of bread, a tiny loaf of bread is $5, $6 versus a really good, nice wheat bread that you can get for maybe $2. Or the gluten-free chips, or the gluten-free Bisquick that's a little tiny box. And then the thing is that foods that do contain gluten are a really good source of B vitamins, vitamin E, selenium, and chromium and folate, because a lot of our wheat products are now fortified with folate in order to prevent birth defects. And so it's a really good source of all those vitamins. So if you choose to eliminate that from your diet, then you need to be making sure that you are getting these vitamins and minerals from other sources. The one good thing that has come about from the gluten-free diet is that it has encouraged people to try new grains. And they're more available to all of us. And so this is a list of grains. These are all grains that are gluten containing. They're all some sort of like a grass, a true grain plant. Most of these are not true grains, and that's a whole other topic we could talk about, but these are actually a list of true grains. and most of them look similar to wheat. They would have a little bit different nutrient profile, but most of them, or they all look very similar to wheat. This list, on the other hand, are, you know, corn, millet, oats. Quinoa has become extremely popular. I recommend it. I love quinoa. It's the closest to a complete protein that we have as a grain product. Sorghum is really interesting. It's a little bigger grain. And then teff is actually a little teeny tiny grain that's in Africa that they use to make a bread product out of. So there are things, you know, there are things you can experiment with. Some of them are really high in calcium, which is, you know, a good source of calcium and, you know, good sources of vitamin minerals. But my my biggest thing is if you don't have to go gluten-free, don't spend the money. It's just really kind of not worth it unless it really makes you sick. So, that's my presentation. Any more presentations? Oh,
Question,
does anybody
question.
have any questions?
I do. So on the rice, I had actually heard some of the rices are, because like a stickier rice. Have you heard?
Gluten in it?
Yeah,
No,
I heard that from someone, but and when I tried to Google it, I couldn't really find clear information about it, to be honest, because I cannot do gluten.
Oh.
So life has been totally different.
Oh, yeah, it is, it
So,
really
yeah.
is hard.
Gluten's actually easy, and if you haven't gone to Mom's Kitchen, their pancake thing is about this.
Oh, really?
Just so you know,
Oh, good.
up in Idaho Falls, yeah,
Okay.
you need to go up there to that
I
store,
have
it's amazing.
heard
It's
of
amazing.
that one.
Yeah, that's been
But
on the
my
paper.
guess would be no, that it wouldn't, because you can't go to the grocery store, buy rice flour, and probably make a decent loaf of bread out of it.
Right, that's.
You're
what-
still gonna have to need the
Okay.
Zyban gum to get that
Mhm.
holding together, because it's not gonna have the same property.
Okay.
Have you heard anything like, I haven't ever heard that, so.
No.
I heard it
This-
just with
and
the
that
stickier,
was-
you know, the actual rices that will bind, so that was why.
No, and that would have to do with the starch component of the rice.
Yeah.
There's, so it would have to do with the starch component of, because all grain, or all
Mhm.
carbohydrate, complex carbohydrate products have a starch component.
Okay.
The only thing I can think of with a rice is if you bought a convenience package of rice. It was like a
That's what
quick,
they were talking
like a
about.
quick,
Okay.
quick serve. It may have a mixture of it, and so the gluten could be on the assembly line of the
Right.
package, or it could also be in the little spice packet that comes, you know, with
Okay.
that mixture of spice, because sometimes people with real severe gluten allergies have to be really careful with the spice mixes, like the taco seasonings and things like that, because they'll have the,
Surprising when it's hidden.
because it's hidden in there.
Yeah, even soy sauce.
I know.
Soy sauce.
But they have soy sauce up there at that
At
store
that
that is
store.
gluten
That
free.
is gluten-free.
Yeah.
And that's amazing, and it's amazing, because, you know, I have to be dairy-free because I'm allergic to dairy. And it totally changes your life, so.
I have both, so.
Yeah, oh, so sorry.
I am too.
I'm so
But it
sorry.
works. It's okay. It
Yeah.
works. It works. There's worse things.
Cancer.
Yes.
So why then does like things like liquid and stuff like that have the sign gluten-free when it's not necessarily a grain? Something, I don't know, something like milk or something like that, or soy sauce.
Because, well, the soy sauce actually, that is a grain product, it's actually fermented, but like milk, and what, you know, I think it cracks me up lately that like stuff like Rice Krispies are gluten-free. I mean, they're just a rice product, and if you read but everybody sees gluten-free and goes, oh, I should eat that, because everybody's saying we should go gluten-free, you know, and so it's kind of more of a marketing, it's more of a marketing thing, but even like beer, because beer's made from grain, you know, and so there are liquid products that you wouldn't even think
Diet Coke actually has, in the caramel coloring,
coloring has.
they won't come out and say that theirs is gluten-free completely. diet, Pepsi has come out and said they are using a gluten-free caramel coloring. So it's silly things nobody would have thought caramel coloring.
But it makes you
Or
go,
caramel
why
flavoring,
do
not
I
coloring, excuse
feel
me, flavoring."
crummy today? You know, so it really, it does, you have to really start to think about the things that you're eating. Okay, any more questions? Okay, we'll turn the time over to Tiffany, our health education student.
Okay, like I said, my name is Tiffany, and I'm gonna be talking about, you can just hold on to this stuff real quick. Yeah, I'm just gonna be talking about exercise, and of course, once you talk about food, you gotta talk about exercise, right? I mean, it's just a given. So yeah, once you're consuming all of these foods, then you just wanna go out and have physical activity. So I'm gonna be talking about FIT, and all these letters stand for something. So it's frequency, intensity, time, and type. And so we're going to be going through those. So what this is basically to either increase cardiovascular fitness levels or maintain. So regardless if you want to just increase it or maintain it, this guide really just helps you along with that. No matter if you want cardio or strength training or both or flexibility, I mean, regardless, you can just use this to help you along your way. Okay, so frequency. So how often? This is how often you do your physical activity. Like I said, whether it's cardiovascular or strength training or flexibility. So it says numbers of days per week, and normally it's about around 3 to 5 days of cardio endurance. And endurance is just how long you can go exercising without getting tired. So when someone says, are you building endurance, or if you want to build endurance, that's what you're doing. It's that's what you're doing, is that you're just getting stronger and running further without getting tired or fatigued. So 2 or more days per week for resistance training that we want to do also, with maybe 1 or 2 days of rest time and everything. So intensity, so how hard are you going to go? So when a person exercises harder than his or her normal level of activity. So this is your pushing point. It's actually normally like you'll maybe see some, if you go to a gym or a physical activity building like a YMCA or something like that, but they may have a chart to look at to see like how intense your workouts are. Like if you can, I heard that a little tidbit, if you can sing while you're exercising, it's mainly a moderate intensity, but if you can't talk while you're exercising, it's probably a little too much for you. So, and it also increases your heart rate, and you can lift heavier than normal. This is the intensity rate, and in flexibility, it stretches the muscle beyond the normal length. I forgot to mention before I started, I'm a certified fitness instructor at Fitness Inc., and I'm certified through Fit Tour. And they teach us when you are stretching, you want to be comfortably uncomfortable, how they put it, comfortably uncomfortable. And so that really goes with stretching. Of course, we can always stretch, but to really get that benefit of stretching, we would take it a little bit past that comfort zone, if you will, and take it to a more beneficial limit without, of course, pulling a limb or anything. Okay, so time. So for how long? So at least 10 minutes for at least 10 minutes a day at a time, or you can have 20 to 60 minutes is recommended, but you can always break these up as you need. And this can and like I said, this can take place in a single session. And higher intensity is normally 20 to 30 minutes, and moderate intensity is 45 to 60 minutes. And for this, you can always do also balance exercises. If cardio or strength training is not something that is an interest. Always balancing or flexibility. We always can use flexibility, that's for sure. I always tell myself, well, I need to do some yoga poses or something. Yeah.
So does it matter your age on this, how much time you spend? So if you're young, do you have to spend more time because you're young?
Right.
As you age, do you slow down when you spend less time? You can and still get the same effect?
Actually, yeah, you're never too old to alter. I mean, it's really just how you feel, because it's more than just a number. Like I tell my class members, I say, the weight, for instance, that you're lifting, it doesn't matter the number, it's how your muscles feel, how much intensity they can take. And so, yeah, for the age, I mean, it's really just whatever you feel comfortable, but at least like 20 minutes.
So for younger children though, you hear the NFL saying 60 minutes, do they need to exercise more? They tend to run around anyway, but
Right.
little kids, but that was what I was kind of asking. Do
Oh,
they
okay.
have to have do children need more exercise time, would you say, than as you age?
Oh, I see. Yes. So once you get older, yes, the activity starts to lessen, and so it's like you need a little less calories and everything. And so with children, when they're exercising for 60 minutes, they probably need it a little bit more, since they need more calories and everything, and so their bodies can do more and everything. But once you get older, I mean, like, just like I said, like around 20 minutes, you don't have to exercise as much as 60 minutes, since the body doesn't normally need it, like, once you get older. But yeah, once you get older, the time starts to, well, I don't want to say the time decreases, just the intensity may decrease. So that might alter the time also. But yeah, I'll get to the types of exercises and how that will alter the time and everything. Does that answer your
Yeah.
question? Yeah, so the types of exercises, swimming, yoga, walking, jogging, something simple like even walking, grocery shopping, just something like that. Or maybe parking further away to go to the grocery store or wherever you're going shopping, and everything. Just the intensity, you really want to keep it safe. That's the thing. I know a lot of people that just want to go all out and go all for it, when their bodies aren't physically able to do that. And so you can only do so much what your body can endure. So just for the type, you would just alter it how your body is for you. For instance, if you can't walk for a long moment, you can always do chair exercises. A lot of chair exercises, sitting down or standing up. You can do squats on the chair and stand back up. You can do leg lifts and everything. You can do bicep curls, resistance training. You can do walking in place. There's a lot of things that you can do in the chair and out of the chair. So, I mean, it's just really whatever you feel, and also that your body is capable, because I know my grandmother, she says that I can lift, it's just, or I want to lift up here, but my body can't lift physically. So, yeah, we just have to be mindful of our bodies also. So, oh yes, and I forgot to mention, so once we're all talking about these diets and the fit activities, that it's a lifestyle. Like, you want to really invite it as a lifestyle, not necessarily like a chore that you have to do, or basically a chore, because no one really wants to do chores. So that's what I learned when I started to introduce activities and certain things to eat into my life, that I had to accept, do I want to make this a chore, or do I want to make it a lifestyle? And if it doesn't work for me, then it's just not going to work, and I just kind of find an alternative to that. So yes, that is what I have. Any questions?
Very good, thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm going to talk about the DASH diet here. So big question is, what is DASH diet? Before really my nutrition education background, I've never heard of the DASH diet, which is kind of disappointing to me. And we have these really healthy diets, and then we have as well like all these other diets that people are following right now. And you hear so much more about these other diets rather than the DASH diet. And so what is the DASH diet? DASH diet actually is an acronym for dietary approaches to stopping hypertension or stopping hypertension. And hypertension is, of course, high blood pressure. And so this diet is mainly, it's going to be for all those people who have high blood pressure and want to lower that blood pressure or need to lower that blood pressure. It will also help to prevent high blood pressure. One of the big things that DASH diet does is it reduces the amount of sodium in your diet. And it also helps to prevent osteoporosis, cancer, heart disease, stroke, and diabetes.
Sounds like a cure-all.
And so, what can you eat with the DASH diet? It's really, you have a strong emphasis on fruits and vegetables and low-fat dairy foods. There's a moderate amount of consumption of whole grains, fish, poultry, and nuts. And then you kind of want a smaller amount of red meats, sweets, and fats. Here's your recommended servings for each day. You want about 6 to 8 servings of grains per day, 4 to 5 servings of vegetables per day, 4 to 5 servings of fruits per day, 2 to 3 servings of dairy per day, 6 or less servings of lean meat, fish or poultry per day, 4 to 5 servings of nuts, seeds, legumes per week, 2 to 3 servings of fats or oils daily, and then 5 or less servings of sweets each week. So you can tell that's kind of like some of you can see the emphasis on the vegetables and the low consumption of low consumption of meats and sweets and fats. And so there's 2 types of the DASH diet. You have the standard DASH diet, which allows you to consume 2,300 milligrams of sodium a day. And then there also is the lower sodium DASH diet, which allows you to consume 1,500 milligrams of sodium each day. So just some facts here. The average American diet typically contains about 3,500 milligrams of sodium each day. The majority of the sodium comes from processed foods. And so one of the really good things that helps with the DASH diet is you're trying to cut out as many processed foods as you can. And so that really lowers the amount of sodium you intake, but you just have less processed foods, and so it's pretty good. Another fact, 1 teaspoon of table salt contains about 2,300 milligrams of sodium. The adequate intake for sodium is about 460 to 920 milligrams a day for adults. And the upper limit is around 2,300 milligrams. So that 1 teaspoon of salt is basically all you want to eat that day. Anything more than that is a little bit too much. And so does it work? It does work. It is very strongly promoted for stopping hypertension. It is promoted by the U.S. Institutes of Health. And it is very effective for preventing hypertension. There's studies galore on this. Like I said, it's promoted by the U.S. Institutes of Health. So this is really one of the healthier options when it comes to diets. And I think that's about all I got. Yeah, and that's about really all I got about the DASH diet. We also have, we're going to have handouts for you regarding DASH diet, and then our ingredient, or our demo is going to be a partial DASH diet recipe. So,
How much does it differ from the original pyramid versus the newer pyramid that the government came out with, what, 5 years ago or something? In terms of this is how much you should eat, the food pyramid.
like So our new,
Originally, the pyramid was done in layers,
Right, it
vertical
was a
layers
pyramid.
this way, but then they came out with the one that's done this way, that kind of adjusts all of those sizes just a little bit differently.
and, well, the newest one, they came out, just 2 years ago, they came out with my plate. And so my plate is the newest version of the food pyramid, basically, where it has the amount of food groups on plate, and then you have your dairy up here, suggesting like a milk product. But it just has like, you want, I think it's grains and vegetables. No, yeah, grains and vegetables want to be a little bit higher, and then it has a smaller portion for meats and fruits. And so it's, even like, you can tell that everything is still changing. And so even with that suggested servings, like that's about what you're gonna want on my plate.
One other question.
Yeah.
How does the DASH diet fit in with what Tiffany talked about with the exercise? Because there you're going to be excreting sodium as part of your sweat along with other nutrients. How does that fit in with like even just a standard DASH diet?
It's not strongly recommended for athletes, for like athletes or just people who exercise a lot or people like that, because you're losing a lot of sodium when you're using this. You notice a lot of people eat a lot more sodium, and sodium is a main electrolyte, and so without those electrolytes, your body's kind of a little bit more tired, and so you need that more sodium, as well as potassium and a few other nutrients. And so it's not really strongly recommended for.
Because you're not presuming they'd have hypertension.
Yes.
We used to give our children lots of juices, and I don't see juices mentioned anymore, and for good reason. Is that right? First of all, you're eliminating the fiber, and then there's so much sugar in most of the juices. I noticed the like tomato juice probably is one of the healthier ones.
Just because that doesn't have as much sugar, but if.
But I will also say that, you know, our diet, some people's diets include a lot of the effervescent drinks. I took a class, an exercise class with Karen Donaldson for a year, and almost daily she emphasized to us the how poor to our how bad for our bodies are Coke, and worse yet is the diet. It's full of chemicals. It's the worst. Those are the worst things that we can. Some of the worst things we can consume. And diabetes. It leads so often to diabetes. Is what she.
Well, if you think about just one can of Coke, or just the little 12-ounce can contain massive, I don't remember how many cups of sugar are in there, but it's outrageous, and a lot of people just.
She just wouldn't let go of it. It was pounded into us.
To add to that, I just have a question. Knowing that this is my only form of caffeine, because I don't drink coffee, I very rarely drink tea. What other options would I have as a caffeine source? Not that caffeine is good for us either.
But coffee is supposed to be good for
I
us.
can't stand it. If I have it, it's very chocolatey mocha, which means it's really bad for me anyway.
It's almond milk. So I've discovered almond milk is great to have.
Try that. You learn to go out the box. I wasn't speaking to your.
No, I know you weren't. I know you weren't.
I was just looking at this and noticed.
I've gotten to the point where I don't drink, it used to be just a can a day. I'm not even drinking that. Usually it's one a week, and that's usually on the weekend when I'm sitting too long and I start to fall asleep and I need to get up and move, but I need a reason to get up and move.
Other sources of caffeine.
Yeah.
Other than coffee and, the dark chocolate does have caffeine in it.
Yes.
Just even, things like exercise can really kind of bump up your adrenaline and kind of give you more energy. So maybe just trying little exercises or,
Don't have to do that in a class.
in a class.
In a class. at the end of the day, I come here for an evening class. It's like 6 o'clock in the evening after being up since 6 o'clock in the morning. And I'm sitting here going, I'm awake, I'm awake, I'm awake. I'm
Just be
taking
back there
notes.
doing jumping
That's part of the reason why I'm sitting here taking notes, is so I stay awake here. And I'm just thinking of other alternate sources, just because even going through undergrad and vet school, I don't drink coffee. I never figured out how to drink it. Tea,
Well, from what you've said, everything is moderation, and the volume of diet soda that you're drinking is not fine.
right.
I think when what Karen was referring to is some people are drinking
No, I know.
huge, like
Right.
2-liter
I
bottles.
had an uncle who would
Yeah.
drink 2 of
And-
those a day along with all of the potato chips.
So I don't really see that a small amount like that is even something to be worried about. Now, if you, like, again, we're drinking a tremendous amount, then yeah, you can get into a lot more complications. But other sources of calcium, you're right, you have chocolate, tea, there's different teas that you maybe could look at, and teas tend to have less.
I'm trying to find other alternatives that work. It's just, there are days that I want a little bit of sweet, and this gives me that, even though it's the wrong kind of sweet, I go for a little bit of sweet. But then I also know that you don't wanna go back and forth between, okay, I eat that dark chocolate that has one source of sugar, and then you're telling your body something different with a different source of sugar. So you're kinda going back and forth saying, and that can add to your diabetes issue, which is in my family history, which is why, another reason why I'm asking.
Oh, there's dark chocolate nowadays, but it's like hardly
Any
bittersweet, hardly
You're right.
any sugar at all in it.
And it has more.
Like the 70%
It has more
cacao
Right.
versions and stuff,
The-
that would be.
I like the 60s and above. You just don't find them very often, like the 80, I think 80 is like the highest I've ever had and could tolerate. 90, the one time I tried it was just a little too far.
That's a really good selection,
Never mind.
of 60s and up. The other thing I do, and I just particularly for my husband, is a smoothie with kale in it. I don't know why, but that'll perk me up. If I put a little kale in my smoothie, and it's just, and I
Maybe
make
because
like,
it's kale.
I make the canning jars, and then I just drink like half of it. And then I save the other half for later the next day or whatever. We found that helped, I don't know.
And I think that's kind of what it is, you just kind of experiment with different things to see what works for you. And so it may just be like bringing a smoothie to class or something, or just to give you something to, but I think it's important to kind of figure out what works for you.
And it could be too, it really would vary, but if you're having to skip meals and you're working all day and it could really be more of a blood sugar issue than
Yeah.
I'm an awake issue.
And that I know, because I was talking with my boss about that the other day, because I had that this week. I could feel it twice on Tuesday, but that's because back-to-back appointments, you don't have time. And if an appointment runs over, your lunch disappears, and then where are you at?
So I think there's some other, so I think,
I'm working on finding other options. so.
balancing meals and like you talked about food, I think those are all things that maybe could help you. But truly, I think the amount that you're talking about is not,
Okay.
I wouldn't
Good.
stress a lot for that, just,
It's only when I go binging on it.
so if you're buying 2-liter bottles and going through one of those every day,
That's why I don't buy them.
one of those a week, I don't think
Yeah,
that's.
that's why I don't buy the 2-liter bottles anymore.
Just being aware of it, I think that's a big step, just being aware of how much you're drinking, and even that's a good thing, because a lot of people are just like, oh, I'm not on
I have a question. Are there any new labeling regulations that are coming out of the government? And, as far as, you look at nutrition labels when you purchase items, are they going to be revised? And if so, what's going to be added, maybe what's going to be deleted?
I haven't heard of any new ones.
I thought the serving size was gonna change, like how they do like a serving size of like pop is one bottle, that they were gonna change it to like an actual, like part of the bottle. I thought I heard something about that, but
Wasn't they planning on changing it like last year or something like that? And they wanted to like have how many calories you have, to do a little bit more.
Oh, that's That's true, they did do something like that, so they made it a little bit more pronounced on the label, is that what you mean? It was a little bit more eye-catching, maybe?
And they kind of tried to make it a little bit more simpler for everyone to read, to be able to understand.
But it's a slow process, the changes and the regulations to make those changes, so,
Sure. You bet.
I think it,
I thought they were taking vitamin C off at one point. Were they gonna take vitamin C off? And one other thing that, now I can't remember what it was. And that's off down at the very, very bottom, your percentage of vitamin C.
There was a big thing in the news where they were trying to make restaurants put up their ingredient, their everything up on their boards, their calories, and then also allergens up on their board, and a lot of businesses found, because in reality, like, you couldn't walk into a restaurant, and they can't have everything up on the board. That was a big thing in the news a year ago, they were talking about, or maybe it was a year and a half ago, but I know that got knocked down, because now they have to have, they're supposed to provide you with a card though. I think is what it is, because I know a few restaurants I've gone in and said, I need to see your ingredient card.
And you can find websites now
They
that have the, you know, allergens and calorie content and stuff. And there have been a couple of restaurants just recently that I will say, you know, when I walk into a new place, because it's always a process and I have to be in a frame of mind to be willing to go there and, you know, and say, I can't have any dairy, can you tell me, you know, I try to be really careful, but if I order something that might have dairy in it, could you please let me know? And I've had a couple places hand me a book and say, this is what we have, that's you know, the allergens, and that is so helpful. It's so helpful for people that have issues, because the last thing I think a restaurant would want would be to have somebody that it ends up sick. Which I've had places that seem like they care, and I've had other places that seem like they don't care. And we don't ever go back to those places that don't care, so.
But a lot of them do, especially the chains have it, because we did a fundraiser yesterday at Papa John's first. And it was funny because I looked up and I thought, oh, I forgot about the chicken wings. So I'm looking up on their nutrition, and it's got dairy everything, on all of them, all their wheat, and I was like, what? So when I went in, I'm like, Craig, why is there dairy? And he says, because they cook them in milk before they come to us. It's not the sauces, it's actually, the wings are cooked in milk. And I was like, wow, and so I was so thankful they had everything online.
Like soaked in milk and then
Then
breaded,
cooked.
because that's mostly a fried chicken.
Yeah, but they're
methods.
not breaded. No, it's just the chicken wings, like, you know, the sauced
Yeah,
wings,
so.
and even their
so
roasted
good.
wings, so yeah.
Wow.
I know, who would have thought,
but
because I
probably
thought
because
chicken
of
wings
the
would be
sugar in the milk, it gives it that caramelization.
Probably, and I think it makes the
And
meat
don't
more
the, and
tender.
don't the enzymes kind of break down the meat just a little bit
Yeah.
that are in milk, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I thought, yeah, you wouldn't think of what's hidden there.
Yeah.
Another thing that happens unfortunately is a lot of consumer goods companies are covering themselves and they're saying it may contain
Right.
dairy or
Yeah.
and you don't know if it
You don't know
is
for
or
sure,
not.
but, or if it's processed in the same building.
Another one that's coming up soon is GMOs.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's mentioned that.
That's a big hot button right now.
I have a question about restaurants, since now they're posting serving sizes and caloric content. Is that helping Americans choose those healthy?
I heard on the news tonight that it is. They were, on NBC, they were commenting on that it was making a difference.
I think it goes back to the awareness thing, because people, like if you go to McDonald's and you're not really thinking about it, you're just like, hey, give me a cheeseburger. But then if you can see like, okay, a cheeseburger has like 400 calories, and be like, oh. So it kind of makes you pay attention to what you're eating.
Oh, yeah.
Some people won't care, but some people will be like, oh, that's what's going into my body. And it kind of, I think it kind of creates the awareness stage for people and kind of gets them started in that direction.
You know, or saying that it's, the burger's 400 calories, well, maybe I don't wanna eat 400 calories of french fries too.
Yeah.
You know, so,
It helps you make
so
decisions.
it maybe will help you make better decisions.
Plus all the salt in the french fries.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, sure. Are there any plans for the government to come out with like caffeine counts on products? I know some people really try to limit it.
There's caffeine counts on most products.
Are
It'll
there?
tell you the
You
milligrams.
should be able to see on
Yeah.
their milligrams.
But like in those energy drinks, because those aren't regulated, they're considered a supplement. And so supplements aren't regulated, so that won't tell you how much caffeine or other stimulant type
Oh, we still do
products
that.
are in it. Some of them still do.
You'll have supplements and you'll have energy drinks and you can see on the label how many, it doesn't mean it's completely accurate.
Yeah, that's what I'm like, it's still not regulated, so it may not even be
This is
completely accurate.
64 milligrams in here.
And that's really not too much.
What's in a,
Pretty less than a cup of
coffee?
coffee, actually.
Some coffee is
300 or
is,
something?
I don't know.
150
I had
each.
espresso, it was like 136.
Yeah, maybe
Maybe it's my
espresso.
coffee that's 300.
Maybe you're drinking espresso all the
Maybe
time.
you're grading papers, and better be at least 300.
Oh, I read the other day that people who drink coffee moderately, now maybe you don't, but are less likely to have Alzheimer's than people who don't drink it at all.
There you
So,
go.
this is a brain stimulant.
You're protected.
That's what they tell people, it's a brain stimulant, they tell people if you have migraines, that you should
Oh,
grab a
yes.
caffeine drink as quickly as you can. That's the first thing you should do.
That's fine.
Oh, that's interesting.
There's also an interesting thing I saw with migraines, if you pierce your ear right here, for some reason it
Okay,
releases
triggers
the
the,
tension or
Pierce
something.
it or pinch it.
Pierce, like get a piercing right there.
Oh,
There was
really?
like,
On this little
on this
old?
little thing right there. And there have been studies that showed dramatic reductions in migraines for people that get that, and I thought that, I didn't really research into it more,
They
but I
put
was like,
something on the pole.
don't know.
They decorate it.
I see people
Yeah.
here with piercings.
Yeah.
I know my mom's always like, "Gee, your mom is just doing that."
Maybe it's something
It's
with
one
the
of your
nerves.
pressure points.
Well, we do have a demonstration that Tim is gonna perform, so if you guys wanna step back there. For delicious taco.
Okay, so, you guys already have the recipe, awesome, you guys follow along with me. So we got our turkey taco bowl here, and you can see the nutritional information on it right there. It has 425 or 28 calories, all sorts of things, I won't read it through. Your sodium, you can see your sodium content on this is 360 milligrams, which is pretty low, really low for a food entree option. And so it kind of fits really well with that DASH diet. And so here's what we're going to do. We're going to start here by mixing together our chili powder, cumin, onion powder, oregano, and sea salt, all into one small bowl. So we're just going to mix it all in this one ramekin here.
Now, what is the benefit of sea salt?
It has a lower sodium content than
It's salt.
just
Salt is
salt.
salt. It just doesn't have any iodine.
Here's the rest.
It's salt is, salt is salt,
chloride.
yes, we do need
Sodium
iodine.
chloride.
Yep, it's salt is salt, and yeah, you know, those specialty salts that we see on the market, they might have a couple of extra minerals, but
The pink ones? and
yeah,
the-
they're beautiful, and they might have some extra minerals, but salt is salt, so it's all the same.
Was there a problem with iodine now? I mean, they
No.
used to, that it was
Oh,
iodized.
Yeah, we need the iodine, and that's the good, that's a source of iodine for us, you know, to keep, you know, the thyroid happy and no goiters, you know. But, yeah, I think there was just this movement to find this natural salt, you know? Like everything else, you know, there's just somebody gets on this and everybody's gotta have it, so.
So be interesting to see if more people are having thyroid issues
Yeah, over a
in the next
period
few
of time.
years.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. So, back to Tim.
Sorry.
You're good.
Digress.
All right. And so we got our all our spices mixed in right here, and then we are going to put the turkey in a single layer on the on our little this thing.
Slow cooker.
Yeah, crock pot, slow cooker, all those things.
And just so you know, we substituted chicken,
Yes, unfortunately we could not find the turkey
the cutlets, yeah.
cutlets, and so we have chicken, which is not quite as lean as turkey, but still very lean and still very delicious. So,
So do you tend to look more for the breast meat or the leg meat, or, I know you get it in the fillets and stuff like that, but I know I think it's the leg meat, the dark meat that tends to be leaner, even still than the white.
Mm-mm.
That's not
It's
true.
the- it's
The
the-
other way around.
The breast meat is the leaner of the two. It's drier when you eat breast meat usually, so
Okay.
it has less fat content to it.
Did anybody go through this recipe and figure it out with hamburger? I don't like turkey and I'm sick of chicken.
You know, I think that hamburger would be fine, especially if you did a lean hamburger. The only thing is with this is that you put in the raw meat. And so with the ground beef, if you just put it in raw, you're gonna have all of the
Mushy.
fat that's in there, so you would almost wanna cook it first like you do chili, and then drain the fat.
Good.
and so-
Let's do it with kielbasa.
Now, there you go.
Do a really lean,
That'll
really,
kind
really
of
lean
meet the
cut of
dash
steak.
part of the diet, whatever makes you happy.
Right.
Or do
Modified
bison, do some bison, yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, so next step here, we're taking our spice mix and we're supposed to like sprinkle it, nice on top of the turkey / chicken that we have here. It's supposed to nice little layer of spices right on top of our meat there. And then we are taking a layer of corn next, and as you can see on all of our cans here, it's low sodium, no sodium, or they're all no sodium.
The tomatoes and the corn are no sodium, and then the others
This is
50%.
no salt on the level of
Yeah.
black beans.
So they're all low / no sodium canned foods, which is again very helpful, helps with that lower sodium. So we're gonna put a layer of corn right on top here.
Have you ever tasted that no salt soup like Campbell's?
I don't think I
It's
have.
gross. It is.
There's a reason they put salt in their
It
soup.
tastes terrible.
Things taste better with salt.
We do.
Yeah.
So we got our corn right there, and then on top of that, we're putting our diced tomatoes. On top there. And we got our black beans. We're gonna put it right on top.
Does it have to be black beans?
I was gonna say,
Gotta be one in every
Do
crowd.
they have to be actual, what type of tomatoes, could they be
Yeah.
fire roasted?
Any kind of juice.
Let's have fun.
All right, so we have our beans, our corn, we have our tomatoes as well, and then what we're going to do is we're going to put a cup and a half of water on top of this.
Two or a quarter, or this is turkey fillet.
That's total. So we're putting a cup and a half
Divided.
on it right now.
Oh, okay.
And then what we're supposed to do is we are supposed to cook it on low for 3 hours. Fortunately, we don't have 3 hours to wait right now. And then after that, we are supposed to, where is it over here? We're supposed to,
You should have added your rice, shouldn't you?
No, no.
Not yet, he's getting to step 3.
we're supposed to have, we're supposed to have,
You should have studied your method.
we're supposed to add our brown rice right here. I'm not gonna open that right now. And it's only, what is it, 3/4 of a cup? Nope.
Yep.
Yeah. And then 3/4 of a cup of water, and add that into it, and then cook it on low again for 2 more hours. So it's really simple to make. It just takes a little bit of time, got a few hours here and there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Not too much. And then before you have when you're almost all finished, you gotta kind of take your chicken and like dice it and make it so it's nice and throughout the entire mixture. And then when you're finished with that, you serve it, and you can add some avocados, diced tomatoes, Greek yogurt, and cheese to put on top of it. The Greek yogurt is a really good substitute for sour cream. It's really low fat, lower fat than sour cream. Healthy avocados, another low. It's good in the good fats for you, and yeah. So that's what we have. So That's all right.